Good day, children. I hope you're all fine. I hope your families are fine and you're happy. Children, I want to know, do you know how to ride a bicycle? Yes, most of you do. And do you remember the first time you learned how to ride it? Yes? Was it easy? No, it must have been difficult because it's so difficult to maintain the balance on a bicycle. So when you tried it for the first time, you may not have succeeded. Did you give up? No, I'm sure you did not. Otherwise, you would not have known how to ride it now. So you believe in the motto, try and try till you succeed. And that's a great motto. Today, we will enjoy the story, His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty. This is about a seagull, a young seagull who is learning how to fly for the first time. He tries several times and does not succeed. And then we see all the ordeals he feels when he tries to fly. Although this story has birds as characters, it is equally applicable to human beings. This story has the message for us that we should be very confident and we should never give up in the face of adversity or difficulty or hurdles. We should continue with our efforts till we succeed. This story brings out the importance of good parenting, firm parenting, which makes the child self-reliant. Self-reliant enough to lead his own life independently and never be dependent on somebody else. These parents, they teach the child to fend for himself. Liam O'Flaherty was a major Irish novelist and short story writer. He had extraordinary storytelling ability and powers of observation. His First Flight is a very inspiring story about a young seagull and his attempt at the first flight. This story is so popular that your class 10 book has been named after it. Now let's read the story. The young seagull was alone on his ledge. His two brothers and his sister had already flown away the day before. He had been afraid to fly with them. Somehow, when he had taken a little run forward to the brink of the ledge and attempted to flap his wings, he became afraid. The great expanse of the sea stretched down beneath, and it was such a long way down, miles down. He felt certain that his wings would never support him. So he bent his head and ran away, back to the little hole under the ledge where he slept at night. Children, this story is about a young seagull who is at the stage of life when he has to learn to fly. Unlike his younger brothers and sisters, he is too afraid to fly. When all of them went for flying for the first time near the edge of the sea, all of them except him succeeded. Why didn't he succeed? Yes, because he could not trust himself. He could not trust his wings. He got terrified by the vast expanse of the sea and he got convinced that he could never fly. So what was the result of that? He felt ashamed and disheartened, and what did he do then? Then he went inside the ledge where he slept. Children, if you cannot do something in the first go, do you try again? Yes, I'm sure you do. And is there anything that you are very afraid to do? Think about it. Even when each of his brothers and his little sister, whose wings were far shorter than his own, ran to the brink, flapped their wings and flew away, he failed to muster up courage to take that plunge, which appeared to him so desperate. His father and mother had come around calling to him shrilly, upbraiding him, threatening to let him starve on his ledge unless he flew away. But for the life of him, he could not move. Children, do you think all young birds are afraid on their first flight? Or are some birds more timid than others? Yes, everybody has some degree of fear, but definitely some are more timid. Because in this case, what we see is that the younger siblings learn how to fly before he does. He did not have enough courage, though he tried desperately. Their wings were shorter than his, and yet they were able to fly before him. And how did his parents react, children? His parents scolded him for not trying again. Yes, but he was still afraid. He could not even move. Children, everyone has different times of development. Some people develop sooner than the others. Some people are late learners. They take a little longer than the others to learn the same thing. Like even when you see little children, little babies, some learn to walk by the time they're 1 year old. But then there are others who may take a year and a half, and yet there are still others who may take even up to 2 years to learn how to walk and talk. How old were you when you started walking? You must ask your parents. And yes, how old were you when you started eating yourself? Were you being spoon-fed when you were like 5 years old? That was 24 hours ago. Since then, nobody had come near him. The day before, all day long, he had watched his parents flying about with his brothers and sister, perfecting them in the art of flight, teaching them how to skim the waves and how to dive for fish. He had in fact seen his older brother catch his first herring and devour it, standing on a rock, while his parents circled around raising a proud cackle. And all the morning the whole family had walked about on the big plateau midway down the opposite cliff, taunting him with his cowardice. Now he had been alone for a whole day. His whole family had neglected him because his parents were busy focusing on his siblings. They helped his siblings master the art of flying and diving for food. Did any one of them catch a fish? Yes. His older sibling even caught his first fish. And what fish was that? A herring, which he proudly ate at a rock where his parents celebrated. And how did the parents behave towards this little bird? Yes, the parents taunted him for being a coward. Children, do you think it was okay for the parents to taunt him? Do you think they were hurting him terribly? Yes, because the parents want the best for their child. Sometimes they are more firm with the child, more strict with the child. They even punish the child because they want to wake up the child's self-esteem so that he would make a greater effort to fly. The sun was now ascending the sky, blazing on his ledge that faced the south. He felt the heat because he had not eaten since the previous nightfall. He stepped slowly out to the brink of the ledge, and standing on one leg with the other hidden under his wing, he closed one eye, then the other, and pretended to be falling asleep. Still they took no notice of him. He saw his two brothers and his sister lying on the plateau, dozing with their heads sunk into their necks. His father was preening the feathers on his white back. Only his mother was looking at him. She was standing on a little high hump on the plateau, her white breast thrust forward. Now and again she tore at a piece of fish that lay at her feet and then scraped each side of her beak on the rock. The sight of the food maddened him. How he loved to tear food that way, scraping his beak now and again to wet it. So now it's the next day, the sun has now risen. He was feeling the heat more than ever because he was on an empty stomach since the night before. He stepped out of his ledge and pretended to be sleeping on one leg to gain the attention of his family. Still no one noticed him. His siblings were sleeping, his father was cleaning his feathers with his beak, And what was his mother doing? His mother was standing on another plateau eating fish. She kept looking at him. The seagull got mad on seeing the fish. Why? Why did he go mad on seeing the fish? Because he was hungry. He wished he could eat that fish. He loved to tear away fish and scrape his beak now and then to sharpen it. Ga, 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 he cried, begging her to bring some food. Gogula, she screamed back derisively. But he kept calling plaintively, and after a minute or so he uttered a joyful scream. His mother had picked up a piece of fish and was flying across to him with it. He leaned out eagerly, tapping the rock with his feet, trying to get nearer to her as she flew across. But when she was just opposite to him, she halted, her wings motionless, the piece of fish in her beak almost within the reach of his beak. He waited for a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. When the young seagull cried in hunger to his mom, how did she react? She screamed back at him angrily. But he still kept on crying. Then she had a very great idea. Can you guess what the idea was? Temptation. She decided to tempt him. So she flew towards him with a piece of fish. He got excited as she came nearer and nearer, and he leaned forward so that he could reach the piece of fish sooner. Suddenly she stopped, not too far from him, a little away from him. And out of excitement and hunger, he dived at the fish without realizing for a moment that he was afraid to fly. With a loud scream, he fell outward and downwards into space. Then a monstrous terror seized him, and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing, but it only lasted a minute. The next moment, he felt his wings spread outward. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tips of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. Ga, 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 ga. Gokula! His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Then his father flew over him, screaming. He saw his two brothers and sisters flying around him, curveting and banking and soaring and diving. The little seagull was very hungry. His mother got him fish, but she stayed a little away from him, just to lure him to fly. He got so excited that he jumped out to get the fish from his mother's mouth. But then he fell as soon as he tried. For a moment he was in shock and he stood still out of terror. All this lasted only for a moment, and soon his feathers opened and he started flying. He could feel the wind against his breast feathers, his stomach and his wings. He could feel himself cutting through the air. He was not afraid anymore. He was just a bit nervous. And then his mother started accompanying him. Mother started singing, Gokula, Gokula, ga, ga, ga. Then he completely forgot that he had not always been able to fly, and he commended himself to dive and soar and curve, shrieking shrilly. He was near the sea now, flying straight over it, facing straight out over the ocean. He saw a vast green sea beneath him, with little ridges moving over it, and he turned his beak sideways and cawed amusedly. Once he overcame his fear, he forgot that he was once afraid of flying. He did all those things that he once feared. He flew straight over the sea, and he could see the green sea underneath and the mountains beneath him. He screamed out of joy as he enjoyed the victory over his fear. His parents and his brother and sister had landed on the green flooring ahead of him. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. He dropped his legs to stand on the green sea. His legs sank into it. He screamed with fright and attempted to rise again, flapping his wings. But he was tired and weak with hunger, and he could not rise. Exhausted by the strange exercise, his feet sank into the green sea, and then his belly touched it, and he sank no further. He was floating on it, and around him his family was screaming, praising him, and their beaks were offering him scraps of dogfish. He had made his first flight. Why did he panic? He thought he would drown, because when his feet touched the water, they went right in. He thought he wouldn't be able to stay afloat. Little did he realize that his body, as it is, would float anyway. So then once he started floating, his fear evaporated. His entire family celebrated. There was so much of excitement. They all offered him praise because he had finally overcome his fear and made his first flight. Children, let's have an activity now. You tell me whether the following sentences are true or false.
Okay, ma'am.
The seagull lived in a valley.
No, it's false.
Yes, the seagull lived on the seaside on the top of a ledge. The seagull was afraid to fly.
Yes, true.
That is very true, right? The seagull's younger siblings learnt to fly before him.
True.
Now this was really tough on the poor little bird. The seagull's parents scolded him for not flying.
True.
You're right. They were not very gentle with him about it. They rather teased him and scolded him, and they tried to lure him to fly. The older siblings caught a crab and ate it.
No, ma'am, I don't think so.
You're right.
That's
the
false.
older sibling caught a fish. Let's have a quiz now, children. The author of his first flight is, I'll give you 4 options: Liam O'Flaherty, Robert Frost, Kevin Maxwell, Anton Chekhov.
Liam O'Flaherty?
That's correct. The next question is, the story, his first flight is about the options are pilot, seagull, crow, crane.
I guess it is seagull?
That's correct. The seagull's parents were teaching his siblings, the options are to perfect the art of flying, to skim the waves, to dive for fish, all of the above.
All of the above.
That is correct. They were teaching him how to fly, to skim, and to look for food, to dive for fish. Very good. The next question is, the seagull was afraid to fly because, the options are, he thought his wings would break. He thought his wings would not support him. He was a coward. He thought an eagle might catch him.
He thought his wings would not support him.
That is the correct answer. Good. The next question is, if he did not fly, his parents threatened to disown him, let him starve, punish him, never talk to him.
Let him starve.
That's correct. Well done. The next question is, the seagull was maddened at the sight of, the options are food, his siblings flying, his siblings playing, his siblings fighting.
Food?
Correct. That's good. The next question is, the food that the seagull's mother got for him was, the options are insects, snail, frog, fish.
Fish.
That's correct. The next question is, to take his first flight, the seagull was urged by, the options are fear, courage, hunger,
Of
Anger.
course, hunger.
Hunger. Good, good, good. That is true. The next question is, the mother stopped midway while giving him fish because the options are, she wanted to lure him to fly, she did not want to give him the fish, she wanted to go back, she was angry with him.
I guess, ma'am, she wanted to lure him to fly.
That is correct. Very well done. You know your lesson well, my dear. Let's have another fun activity. You have to make meaningful sentences from the words that I give you.
Okay, ma'am.
For the first sentence, the words are felt, wings, he, his, outwards, spread.
Okay, let me take some time. Yes, he felt his wings spread outwards.
Very good. That's great. For the second sentence, the words are rushed, the, against, wind, chest, his.
The wind rushed against his chest.
That's excellent. Well done. For the third sentence, the words are feel his, cutting, through, he could, wings, the air.
He could feel his wings cutting through the air.
That's quick. Well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
For the fourth sentence, the words are afraid, was, he, longer, no.
He was no longer afraid.
Good. Very well done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's have a grammar activity now. Complete the sentences using the correct form of the verb. For the first sentence, his father dash over him. The words from which you have to choose are fly, flew, flown.
Flew.
His father flew over him. That's correct. The second sentence is his sister was dash in the sky. The words are soar, soaring, soared.
Soaring.
Correct. Very well done. The third sentence is his mother was dash towards him with a fish. The options are flew, flown, flying.
Flying.
Yes, his mother was flying towards him with a fish. Good. The fourth sentence is he dash a joyful scream when he saw his mother. The options are utter, uttered, uttering.
Uttered.
That's correct. He uttered a joyful scream when he saw his mother. The next sentence is his siblings had dashed to their fill. The options are eat, ate, eaten.
Eaten.
Correct. Well done. His siblings had eaten to their fill. Very
Wow.
well done. Good.
This was a good activity, ma'am. Thank you.
So children, you must have enjoyed this beautiful and inspiring story where the parents help their child overcome his fears. They make him self-reliant, they make him confident enough to take care of himself and to achieve great heights, to soar high, to be happy with his achievements. Here it is not just the parent supporting this child, it is also about his siblings supporting him. So you see a lot of bonding between the siblings. Everyone celebrates his success over his fear. So that's the kind of family bonding, the family support we should all provide for each other and the love that we should have for each other.